But then leading up, I want to ask this question. So first and foremost, my apologies when I did my introduction of you, I forgot to mention that you're also a husband and a father to two, and your wife, who at that time was also in Nyanyuki.
Yes.
And I had the privilege of having an amazing conversation with her. We're talking about none other than Gina Dean Kariuki. And when she talked about you, it was in connection with the coup. But before getting the coup, let's get to some happier times of how did you meet her?
We met when we now came from the US. We were posted in Nyanyuki. Nyanyuki was a growing base. So there was no room at the Air Force base. They were still under construction. So we were put up at the Sportsman's Arms Hotel, which was owned by her parents. So her mom and dad ran it. Her sisters had already flown out to overseas. And so we were there for almost 2 years as we were still building the Air Force. So that's how we met. Interestingly, we met in a kind of a chaotic, because if you remember, you guys are too young, but they were called Vono, very tiny beds. So the room I was given was one of those, and I'm reasonably tall. So I requested a few times can you please change my bed at the reception of the hotel? And I'd go to work, come back, they have not changed my bed. So after a few days, I got fed up. So I marched in there, I was so mad. And her father and her were sitting there. And I said, "You, Dean, I've been telling your people about this bed, I'm fed up." So she stood up and said, "That is Mr. Dean to you." I said, "I don't care.
My bed."
So he stood up, very calm man, and he said, he's right. He's too tall for this. He quickly called somebody within minutes. I was given another key to change your room. They moved my stuff. And then I went, sat in the bar later, just having a drink. And then she came and I said, I apologize. I said, sorry, I was rude to your dad. We started to talk.
Nice.
And we are still talking.
Two children later, you're still talking. 2 children
later, we are still talking. We're still talking about
You're told.
The being rude. Yeah, that's how I started.
So at this time, you haven't met your hubby.
I have.
Rewind. Rewind.
So I met Chris when I was 16. Chris was in the Air Force. And the Air Force base in Nyanyuki was just being built. So they didn't have accommodation for their pilots. So they booked all their pilots into the Sportsman's Arms. And Chris, I was sitting with my dad as usual, and Chris came and said to him, "Hey, Din, my bed is too small." And I stood up and I said, "Excuse me, that's Mr. Din to you." and my dad's like, no, he's the customer, he's right, he's a tall guy. Don't worry, we'll sort you out. And so that was how I met him.
It's Mr. Dean to you.
I was like, "Hey, who do you think you are?" Saying, that's very rude. It's Mr. Din to you. So I've never let him forget that. But that's how we met. So I'd already met him.
Okay, I've got to ask this one. Gina Dean is of Indian descent. You're Kikuyu, doing well in the Air Force. Did that bring issues, racial issues from peers, people, the outlook at the time? Even today, people still haven't properly acclimatized to it.
It did. It definitely did on both sides. But on the Indians on her side, not relatives as such, but the local community could not figure out. They never thought this thing would last more than just an infatuation. After a while, you go marry your 1-0 and she'll go marry somebody. So that definitely did. It kind of looked weird to people. On my side, she was quite acceptable by my parents, my mom and dad. I think my sister, 1 or 2, probably found it weird that, this kind of looks odd, it's unusual. It's only after they got to know her and realized, she's such a super person, then everything all melted away. But for sure it was. You'd get funny looks, but we were tight. We are still tight, so it didn't quite matter.
And also that's why I love the story of your bringing. I mean, for you, it's race is an issue.
From age was it 4?
Your whole life.
It was all mix and match. I don't notice it. Yeah.
Okay. So again, let's then now fast forward to 1981. So you're this accomplished fighter jet pilot. 1981, or is it 1982?
82.
82 was a huge turning point, especially because of the Air Force.
Yeah.
Tell us what happened. Explain to people about that time. Imagine the people would have no idea what happened then.
Yeah, 1982 August. Well, let's go back to the last week of July. 2 weeks actually. There was a military exercise.